If you've ever tried to throw a machete, you'll know you don't throw machetes. Unless you are Machete. But I'm willing to bet you're not Machete. Unless you are Machete. Then wow. Thank you for watching my video, sir. It's an honor. I loved you in Spy Kids.
So family does mean more to you than money?
No.
But at the same time, you probably found this video by Googling Machete. Pretty lame, dude. Anyways, for the most part, probably 85% of you guys are not Machete. If you went out and bought a machete wanting to throw it, and you just learned that you're not Machete so you can't throw it, why not just make a Tomahawk out of your machete? You don't have to be named Tomahawk to throw a Tomahawk. I bet Machete could throw a Tomahawk. Think about it. I've been playing Skyrim recently. I don't know why I just started again. I know you guys have wanted Tomahawks for a long time. Thought it would be pretty cool if I made a Tomahawk that looks like it was made to fight dragons and also like it's seen battle with the dragons. So I got this really long spike in the back for like squeezing in between the dragon scales, and it's also extra long so, you know, it can stab deeper as spikes do. And then it's got all this fancy wood burning on the handle, so it looks like you've actually been in a fight with a dragon. And the cool thing is, it's made out of, you guessed it, Danny Trejo. This building poop. We can probably get this finished in like an hour if you don't count the staining and drying times and stuff. So first we've got some common nails. These are size 10D. We've got some steel rivets. We've got a strip of bar stock steel. We've got a machete. I think it is an 18-inch blade. And if you don't want to go and get a piece of solid hickory or solid oak to cut a custom handle out of, you can just go to the hardware store and find the section where they have the claw hammers, and they should have some ugly little replacement handles for it that you can use. It'll get the job done, but you know, they're really small and they're just not very pleasant looking. But there's a visual hint on the screen as to which one of those options I chose. We're gonna get all the woodworking out of the way first. So I noticed that this particular piece has this really cool grain where it's straight up until right at the end here where it curves up, and there's all this wavy stuff up here that I want to do something cool with later. But I'm looking at this right here because if you notice, this actually kind of looks like the bottom of an axe already. So what I'm gonna do is take a little bit of tracing paper or wax paper, lay it down on top, and then I'm gonna draw my handle onto here. And having the grain running straight through it will make it look like I formed the wood somehow, like I steamed it and bent it. But no, it'll just be completely natural and you won't have to go through all that trouble. Now you can still see the grain with the tracing paper down, so I'm going to take a pen and draw my handle out. So I cut around the design in the wax paper, and now I'm going to use that same pen to trace around this, and then I can take this off and use that as a guide to cut this out with my jigsaw. And now that I've got the basic shape cut out, I'm going to put it in the vise with a paper towel as a cushion so that the vise doesn't scratch it all up, and then I'm going to file and sand it down until it's round enough to hold comfortably. Took a little bit of doing, but after a little bit of work I finally got it rounded out and looking nice. So now what we have to do is cut this shape out from the machine, and you can see how that will look pretty cool fitted on there. To do this, we're going to use an angle grinder with a cutoff wheel. So I cut this piece out, and it wasn't going to have a spike on the back of it originally, but after I held the machete up to it and saw how it looked with the spike, after I took the machete away, it didn't look natural without it, so it's kind of a sign that it was meant to be. Alright, so now what we have to do is cut two 4-inch strips out of that bar stock steel that I mentioned in the beginning. I've got the two strips cut out and stacked on top of each other, and now I'm going to trim it here and here. Now that they're rounded, what we're going to do is make two bends on each of the pieces. They're just going to be really slight. I'm sorry I forgot to film it, but to make the bend around the stick, all you have to do is clamp one of the ends together, both halves, and then you put the stick in between the two pieces, and then you squish this end in the vise right here, and squeezing that end while this end is clamped up will cause it to form around here. So the next step we got to do is drill a couple of holes in both sides right there. And once we got the holes drilled on this side, we're going to clamp this end in the vise, and once it's tight, we're going to remove the clamps. We'll put the blade in, we replace the clamps, and then we drill through the blade. And once we got it drilled, we pop a couple rivets through it. Then we're going to repeat that process on the back to attach the spike, but before we do any of that, I want to finish the handle so that once I connect it inside, it'll all be sealed up and everything, and you're not going to get any mold in the wood or anything. I'm gonna apply some pre-stain, then wait about 5 minutes, wipe that off, and right after that, I'm gonna hit it with some color. I can't decide which one to use, so I'm probably just gonna use both. After that's done, I'm gonna wait a few hours, and then I'm going to coat it in some polyurethane to seal everything up. And also, between the staining and the polyurethane, I'm gonna be doing a little bit of wood burning with this little propane torch, like I did on the big version, just to make this thing look like it's seen battle with a dragon. I'm hanging it by a little screw eye so I can get all the sides at once. Over crispy some of the spots, it's not a big deal. Just take some sandpaper and rub away some of the char, and then just reapply a little bit more wood stain so that the grain still stays dark. But for the aesthetic that I'm going for, I think this is just about perfect. So here's the finished handle with the poly coat. Now what we're gonna do is take it, stick it into the blade with the bracket that we made earlier, and then we're going to take the spike, put it into the back, clamp this together, and then drill through here a couple more times like we did here. Now just the pressure that these brackets are exerting on this handle is more than enough to keep the blade in place, but just as an extra precautionary measure, we're going to be taking this nail, drilling a hole through this part, dropping the nail through, and then we're going to trim off the other end so that there's about 2 millimeters sticking out of the other side. And then you're going to flip it over, put it down on a hard metal surface like a free weight or the anvil on a vise, and then you're going to take a ball peen hammer and peen the end of it until it looks like this. Here's the hole, here's the nail, here's where you trim, here's the trim, here's the weight, here's the peen, here's the paint, and there's the tomahawk. Now, some of you guys might be thinking that this spike is a little bit too long, but really, it's 2015. I think it's time we finally abolished our unrealistic expectations for tomahawk spikes. Because yeah, maybe your tomahawk spike is 3 inches long. This isn't. It's 4 inches long. And it's beautiful the way it is. And there's nothing anybody can do to change it. Unless, of course, I were to take my angle grinder, put on my dust mask, put on my goggles, and do the actual work. It would be hard, but it's not impossible. And as a responsible adult, I don't feel the need to convince everybody else that it's impossible. And I definitely don't feel the need to try to make everybody say that they like the way this looks. Because maybe they don't. Everybody has free will, and their preferences very well might contradict my own. And if I'm trying to make them say something that they don't actually agree with, who's the bully then? So I have the freedom to just be completely honest and say, I actually like this. You know, 3 inches is the minimum depth of penetration for lethality. I made this 4 inches. I think that's cool, and I like the way it looks. But I also have to be really careful, because if I'm just saying that I like the way this looks and I really don't, I just want to get out of the work of changing it, I might be lying to everybody else, but I'm the only one hurting. So there's the Dragon Slayer Tomahawk. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye.